Attention passionate Atlanta, Falcons fans. Latest news, something big is happening in the NFC South and it could change the game. We're talking about a direct impact on Atlanta Falcons' path to another Super Bowl run, a power shift that could leave a division rival stumbling for years. We're bringing this to you firsthand. But before that, if you're a true Atlanta Falcons fan, subscribe to the channel to strengthen this passion even more. Show that you're also part of this family. Let's help each other reach 1,000 subscribers. Share with your FRINDS and Atlanta, FALCONS FANS. Let's get to the news. Now, folks, the offseason has officially come to an end, and the Atlanta Falcons have wrapped up their preseason. That means the countdown to Week 1 has begun in earnest, and everyone's eyes are on the final roster cuts, which are just around the corner. By Tuesday evening, we'll know exactly who will be stepping out onto the field at Mercedes-Benz Stadium for that critical season opener against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And let me tell you, the stakes are higher than ever for Atlanta, especially after a pretty quiet preseason overall. No fireworks, no dramatic surprises, but that doesn't mean there aren't some significant storylines that could shape the Falcons' fortunes this year. One of the more intriguing stories involves a veteran at a key position who fell victim to the first round of cuts, and that's none other than Morgan Fox. Now, if you've been following the team, you remember that last season was a tough one for the Falcons' pass rush. They struggled mightily to get to the quarterback, finishing the season with just 31 sacks, which landed them at the very bottom of the league, only ahead of the Patriots. That's a number that any defensive coordinator would find concerning, especially considering the importance of pass rush in today's NFL. They started the season so slow, with only 10 sacks through the first 11 games, and even after some improvement, it was clear that Atlanta needed to do something different on the front line. After releasing veteran Grady Jarrett, a player who's been a cornerstone of the Falcons' defense for years, the team decided to bring in Morgan Fox to bolster the interior linemen. Fox, a seasoned veteran, was expected to add some much-needed experience and explosiveness. Unfortunately, he didn't make it onto the 53-man roster. He didn't see action during the first preseason game, and in the final 2 weeks, recorded just 4 tackles, hardly enough to make a splash or convince the coaching staff that he was the right fit. It's surprising, especially given the Falcons' clear need for more pass rush help, but sometimes in the NFL, roster decisions are about more than just talent. They're about fit, potential, and future development. What makes this decision even more interesting is the context around the defensive line. Beyond David Onyemata, who's been a steady presence inside, the Falcons are very much relying on their younger players to step up. They have 2 second-year defensive linemen, Rook Orhorhoro and Brandon Dorlus. Orhorhoro played in 8 games, logging 148 snaps, which isn't a ton, but it's enough to get a sense of his potential. Dorlus, however, has seen even fewer opportunities, just 19 snaps across 2 games. Still, during the preseason, Dorlus flashed some promise with his versatility along the interior line. The team appears to be banking heavily on these young players, developing quickly to fill the void left by other veterans. But that's always the gamble with young talent. If things don't go as planned, the Falcons could find themselves regretting the decision to cut Morgan Fox. You see, the depth along the defensive line is already thin, and with Jarrett coming back from that ACL injury, the team was counting on Fox to provide some rotational support. Yet, his lack of impact in preseason, just a handful of tackles and no notable flashes, probably sealed his fate. The Falcons are essentially rolling the dice that their youth will develop fast enough to compensate for the loss of a seasoned veteran. Turning our attention to the pass rush, it's worth revisiting what happened last season. After that slow start, Atlanta did manage to generate some pressure, recording multiple sacks in several of their later games, particularly weeks 14 through 17. But then, in the season finale against the Panthers, they went flat. No sacks, no quarterback hits, and a disappointing overtime loss. That game really highlighted how much they relied on their interior to generate disruption, and with Jarrett's torn ACL, the pressure was even more on the remaining players to step up. Jarrett himself had a solid comeback from his injury, but he lacked the explosiveness that made him a threat inside. As an undersized defensive tackle, Jarrett's game has always been about quickness, beating linemen off the snap, and making plays in the backfield. When that quickness diminishes, it becomes a challenge to consistently pressure the quarterback. And that's exactly what we saw last season. The Falcons needed a boost on that front, which is why they signed veteran Leonard Floyd and Morgan Fox in quick succession during the offseason. Unfortunately, Fox didn't make it, but Floyd is still in the picture. The Falcons are hoping for a resurgence from Floyd, who's a proven pass rusher when healthy. His career has seen ups and downs, and last year was no exception. He struggled toward the end of 2024, failing to record any sacks or quarterback hits in the last 4 games. That's a concern, especially heading into a new season. The Falcons are counting on Floyd to raise his level and bring some much-needed edge pressure to complement their interior rush. If Floyd can return to his previous form, that could be a game-changer for Atlanta's defense. Now, let's not forget the other pieces around the defensive line. The team's linebacker core is also looking for consistency. Jalon Walker battled through an injury during the preseason, which limited his reps, but head coach Raheem Morris expressed confidence in James Pierce Jr., praising his progress. Both Walker and Pierce sat out the final preseason game against the Cowboys, but the plan is for them to be ready for Week 1. The coaching staff is clearly optimistic about their development, and that's a positive sign for a defense that needs to generate pressure from multiple spots. One key factor that could have a tangible impact on the upcoming game against Tampa Bay is the status of Buccaneers left tackle Tristan Wirfs. The Falcons might benefit from the fact that Wirfs sat out all of preseason following knee surgery and isn't expected to be ready for Week 1. That could be a significant boost for Atlanta's pass rush, especially if they can exploit that matchup. Wirfs is a critical piece of Tampa Bay's offensive line, and his absence could create opportunities for Atlanta's pass rushers to get after the quarterback early in the game. Looking ahead, the Falcons are entering this season with a mix of cautious optimism and high expectations. The team's front office and coaching staff have worked hard to address their weaknesses, especially along the defensive front. The offseason additions, including Leonard Floyd, were designed to bolster a pass rush that desperately needed it. The development of young players like Dorlus and Orhorhoro will be crucial, but there's also a sense that Atlanta might be 1 or 2 impactful veteran signings away from truly contending. The defense's success this year hinges on multiple factors, but the key will be whether the pass rush can create consistent pressure and whether the interior can hold the line against the run. If the Falcons can get that rush going early against Tampa Bay, perhaps taking advantage of Wirfs' absence, they could set the tone for the entire season. That would definitely energize the fan base and give the team confidence moving forward. And let's not overlook the importance of the coaching staff's strategy. Raheem Morris has been emphasizing discipline, effort, and execution, especially on defense. His approach has been to get the most out of the talent available and to develop the younger players into reliable contributors. The preseason might have been quiet, but it's also been a period of evaluation, and now the real test begins. The Falcons' offense, led by quarterback Desmond Ridder, is also looking to take a step forward. But as always, football is won or lost on the defensive side of the ball, especially in today's NFL where the rules favor the offense. A dominant pass rush can change games, force turnovers, and give the offense shorter fields to work with. That's the blueprint Atlanta is aiming for this season. So, as the roster cuts finalize and the Falcons prepare for Week 1, everyone's wondering, can this team finally find the consistency they lacked last year? Will the young defensive linemen develop fast enough? Can Leonard Floyd rediscover his sack-producing form? And will the defense be able to pressure the quarterback enough to make a real difference? All these questions will start to be answered in just a few days. The NFC South is shaping up to be more competitive than ever, with the Buccaneers, Saints, and Panthers all looking to make their mark. But the Falcons are quietly confident. They believe they've improved their roster, addressed some of their weaknesses, and are ready to prove doubters wrong. This season could be the one where Atlanta finally puts it all together and makes a serious playoff push. But it all starts in Week 1, and the game against Tampa Bay could be a defining moment, especially if their pass rush can get after the quarterback early and often. Pause here just for a second. If you want the YouTube algorithm to keep recommending the latest Atlanta Falcons news to you, it's super important that you leave a like on this video. Go ahead, it's quick and it makes a big difference. Thank you. Now let us continue with the big reveal. Now I want to hear from you, Falcons fans. What's your take on everything we discussed today? Are you optimistic about the roster moves? Do you think the pass rush will be enough to turn things around? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your opinion really matters to us and to the team. Remember, this is just the beginning. The season is right around the corner, and I'll be back soon with even more updates, analysis, and insights into everything Atlanta Falcons. So stay tuned, stay passionate, and let's get ready to cheer our team to victory. Because at the end of the day, this is what being a Falcons fan is all about: hope, resilience, and that unbreakable love for our team. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.